unite. It's time to war, to fight the fight against the puppet masters pulling strings. We'll strip away the power, hear our piercing scream. Yeah. We won't be silenced anymore. We break free from the chains that they adore. Stand tall. Unrig in the game we rise. We'll bring reality from their lies. Unrig the game, unleash the fury.
This is a friendship that'll never ever end.
Greetings and welcome to Unrig the Game. How's everybody doing out there this evening? I hope you all are doing and living well. First off, thank you to all of our reoccurring members in the winner's circle. Your names are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, as well as Wolfram and Shelly, who support us over on Rumble. Thank you guys so much for that as well. And we are off and rolling. How's everybody doing this evening? Wolfram, thank you for dropping the links. And remember, listen to the wolf. He wipes his paws, he lopes in and howls, and here we go. Yes, Shelly is not feeling so good. She'll be listening the best she can. Probably won't be too chatty tonight. But you know what? She'll be here always in spirit. And just remember, Shelly's really smart. She's always been smart ever since she was a kid. And and even you guys probably didn't know this, but when she was a kid, she actually settled the whole, how you tell the difference between a man and a woman pretty damn easily back then. Take a look at this clip from the past.
So what is this right here?
The pelvis. It's the only bone in the body that's gender specific, which means it's different in boys and girls.
Is it?
Yes. The pelvis's job to protect the organs used for digesting and reproduction, which means throwing babies.
How about that? Little blast from the past right there. You knew even back then. Did I forget to put this thing on? No way. Did I forget to put this thing on lower latency? I may have. It's like one of those little last minute things I do. I'm like, yep, I left it on low instead of ultra low. Oh well. I'm still with you, chat. I'm still with you. Well, double header today. I'm back. Did big stream this morning, reviewing the Oversight Committee hearing for the Secret Service regarding July 13th assassination attempt on President Trump. And let me say, we got basically nothing. Basically nothing. All we did really get is just a definitive answer as to Cheadle or whatever her name is needs to go. Right. And honestly, she should have stepped down already. I mean, if she had any integrity, she would have. Not my fault. Right. But it was. And when you do a whole overhaul of the Secret Service, which I'm sure will be on the list, should and when Donald Trump goes back to the White House. Right. So nothing, no answers of anything of any importance. Didn't report anything really new. I mean, at most, they so they had no indication of second shooters. I think everybody knows that by now. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that there's anyone else was shooting that day. But there's still people out there that want to kind of try to feel like they discovered something that's not there. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so that's pretty much what it was. I liked how we had one guy up there, I think his name was Mick Tanner or something. But he was pointing out from our side, basically that, the lack of information coming out from official sources and people that are doing the investigations are priming the environment for more they call them conspiracy theories. I call them conspiracy grifts. I like to separate the language there because it's been turned into a big blob, right? And I like to kind of it's blob kind of dissect it out a little bit better, segment it a little bit better into the right buckets, because there are truly conspiracies out there, and there are people that theorize about them. I would say maybe we should change that word to crafting. I would say more so if it's a conspiracy and you're researching it, conspiracy researching. All these terms work better. Theorist has been, like I said, it's been archetyped into meaning, tinfoil hats and people that are, basically overly paranoid or overly too far down in the abyss, right? And they all get clumped in with like real conspiracies that we need to talk about, because conspiracies are a real thing. They're part of life. It's just not, the fact that saying they don't exist it would be the biggest lie, right? They do exist, and we do need to address the right ones, but we don't need to spend our time or energy chasing grifts, right? Because that's why they're grifts. They're for you to chase. So anyways, I separate them out, but I'm glad they're pointing it out as to the fact that, it flies around, it causes people to get into certain mental states. And, and also at this time when we're trying to bring people, we have a really good opportunity to reach people in the first veil right now, with all the action going on, these things that mess up the narrative, that disrupt the world, that cause a shock effect, or prime time wake up material, clarity material, I should say. A lot of people are in that in between stage now, where they can go one way or the other. If they run into someone who's based and knows what they're talking about and can point out in a reasonable way without challenging them without invoking a denial response in them too much, I should say, then we have an opportunity to at least plant the seeds to help them walk down the road towards the light. If we come at them with all kinds of crazy fear-based conspiracy grifts, then they're likely to run back and nestle themselves safely inside the establishment narrative. That's why I fight so hard against conspiracy grifts, because they damaged our ability to reach people that need to be reached. And besides that, just, discrediting. As I told you, once you escape the, as I've spoken about, once you escape the establishment narrative, right, there are a lot of rabbit holes to fall down into, and you can get locked down there in the abyss, and pretty soon you'll be thinking nothing's real and everything's based on, numbers or symbols or something like that. It's like you'll lose the point, and you're out of the fight, and you're discredited. Look, once you leave the establishment narrative, they know they can't get you back. So all they can do is try to discredit you and silence you. And that's what they do. Take a look. That's what they try to do with people they know that will never return to their narrative. And so they do that, and then they take that and they show it to the people that are locked into their narrative, and that's what they start to think of you as. It's a dirty game, but it's one we got to fight through. So we got to do our best to be better than anything that we've ever seen before, and that is, better than the establishment narrative that uses psychology and uses psychological tricks, information warfare against people in order to lock them into narratives and control them and steer their actions. And of course, we also have to be better than what we've seen on the other side, people using the same psychological methodologies, but in reverse, and to suck them down into their narratives as well, which are false narratives, and have them avoid being effective, right? And whether they know they're doing it or not doesn't matter. It is what it is. So we got to do better. All right. So that's what we got out of the hearing today. It wasn't spectacular. There were some great moments that are out there. I'm sure you can take a look at them. Since we watched them here today, I won't replay any of them. But Miss Mace, I think her name's Nancy Mace. She was a star today. MTG, she was on fire as usual. mean, just a lot of great pushback. I mean, almost everybody's calling for a resignation or for her to be fired. That's the director of the Secret Service. So it seems like that's going to happen. If it doesn't, then just wait till Trump gets in and it'll get done then. Either way, but we got to make sure that Trump and everybody else is safe during this time, and other people don't get the idea that it's easy pickings, right? Let me go ahead and change the banner to let you know this is the kickoff show, right? We do the kickoff show here on YouTube, and also it's also on X and Rumble. But what we do is we talk here a little bit about just, main topics. Vivek Ramaswamy is usually involved in the topics since we're reading his book right now. But we also talk about, current events and whatnot. And we give everybody a chance to kind of gather up here and talk. And then we take off, we leave YouTube, we say bye-bye YouTube, and we go over to Rumble and X, and we watch and we do the readings. So tonight we're going to read chapter 6 and 7 of Woke Inc. by Vivek Ramaswamy. They're both like 20-minute chapters. So it'll be, that's why we're going to do 2 tonight. So at least we get 40 minutes in a reading. And the book's going well. It's really starting to pick up steam right now. By the way, if you haven't caught all the chapters of the book, the playlist for this is in the description below. It's both here on YouTube and on Rumble. So if you look in the descriptions, you can find a link to the playlist. You can get caught up. And usually the reading part starts about anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour in. So if you want to skip the kickoff show, you can just speed ahead until you see the book up on screen and then catch up with the reading right there. So I hope you'll do that, and hope you'll get to know Vivek Ramaswamy and what he's accomplished in his life, and what are some of the things he has to say, because he's a very smart guy. Like I said, he is he's become the model for the new anti-establishment candidate. He really has. He's got the knowledge, he's got the energy, he's got the right track, and he really does stay based in his approach to things. And the more you get to know him, the more you'll figure that out. So exciting times that we have strong leadership to look forward to in the future. But right now it's about getting Trump into office and getting things back on track. And I think if we do, we're going to see some amazing times ahead of us. I certainly hope so. We do need it. So to start tonight off, Vivek put out a video today, which I think we all need to take a look at. I did retweet it or quote it, whatever you call it on X now. But I'm going to play it for you guys here. And it is, as he labels it, he says, we're not going up against a candidate, we're going up against a managerial machine. And this is a good way to look at it. Like, managerial machine, corrupt establishment, you can substitute those words in and they mean the same. So just to let you know where he's coming from. Let's take a look at this. Let me pull this up. Yeah. Right here. And let's listen to what Vivek has to say. Actually, let me say it. And who else? Anybody else come in there? Okay, yeah. Hey, Memento, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I hope our firing will be televised by Trump. Yeah, I do too. I really do too. Yeah. Hey guys, jump in and enjoy the conversation no matter where you're at. We would love to hear from you. All right, let's rock it.
We learned yesterday what I have been saying for about a year and a half. Joe Biden is now officially not going to be the Democrat nominee for U.S. president.
And I told you guys, I did look back. He did specifically say that won't be the candidate we're facing. He never said how it would happen. Or very smart of him. He never said how it would happen, but that he felt like he would not be the candidate they would face, and he stuck to that line. So again, another win for Vivek. I thought that they would pull him across the finish line, basically, and within a short period of time, either seal him off in a catacomb or something would happen, and you have to leave office. It's funny. We watched I'm sorry to interrupt this as we just got started, but it made me think about something I wanted to say. We just watched that Chris Rock, a silly Chris Rock movie, Head of State, last night, and now I'm starting to feel like, as I was watching it, that I might be watching their game plan, right? Like Kamala's going to be their candidate made to lose, but they're going to run her because of her outwardness, not her inwardness. and that they would now dress up Joe Biden as the hero, as they're already starting to do, as he's now the hero for stepping down and stepping aside. They're going to blow smoke up his ass for 3 days at the DNC or however long that thing takes, the convention. It's going to be a puke fest of Joe Biden, who doesn't deserve anything but the wall. It's going to be a puke fest of worshiping him, and it's going to be awful to watch. But I have a feeling we may be going through a similar, like, Head of State 2, right? Head of State 2. You fell asleep during the movie. You didn't miss anything, Memento. You didn't miss anything. But I think we might be heading into Head of State 2. That'd be my new prediction. But I did think that they would drag him across the finish line because, hey, he's a puppet. And like Vivek's getting ready to talk about right here, I'm going to put him back up. Is we are just facing a machine, right? So what puppet matters? It's the puppets that's going to people know the best or are most comfortable with, and as far as they go, right? Or it's the puppet that's going to be most useful for their next run. Like, I think they already may be cashing this one in and gearing up their lawfare. One video that's doing really well of mine, a stream I did, it's the deep state's plans for 2024. That thing just blew up all of a sudden. So a lot of people are starting to watch it. It's the interview with Tucker Carlson and Waller. I think I got his name right. And that was an amazing interview where he talked about, hey, this is what they plan to do if he gets in. This is what they were planning before. And so we could expect a lot more of what we saw in 2016 with a lot of BS. So we have to go in there strong, get the right people in there, remove all the bad people, fill those jobs, and then hopefully we can avoid a lot of their plan. If we know about it outwardly, then they know about it in the Trump campaign and the administration, and hopefully they're ready to do something about that. Do you think they will do some sneaky stuff with money and run someone else? They really don't care about the campaign finance laws. Well, I guess so. I mean, I don't know how that works. Like, I can guess, but I mean, can Biden hand the money off to someone else that he's gotten for campaign? I mean, if Kamala was part of the campaign as well, is she entitled to some of that money as well if he doesn't run? They do have to nominate her. She is the VP, potential VP nominee, right? Like, once they get the official nominee, then she's in. Like, JD Vance was announced like the day of the DNC. So, and then I think that night he was, they gave him the nod, and then he went on like a day or two later and accepted it. So, if it's officially, you have to do all these things in the proper order in order for it to be official, then that's what it's going to look like. They're going to run somebody else, definitely. I don't know. It's going to be interesting what's going to be interesting about that is to watch what they try to do, how they try to maneuver. Vivek's going to talk some more about that tonight and who he thinks what they're going to try to do next. So let's go ahead and play this, and we'll go to that other one next where he talks about what he thinks is going to happen.
The implications of this are far-reaching for a lot of different reasons. One of them is how unsurprising this actually is. We've known about Joe Biden's cognitive deficits for a very long time. Why was it that it was the obvious public view that he was going to be the nominee when, in fact, the reality is he wasn't? I said this at the presidential debate, the Republican debate, back in November of last year. And that was after 6 months of me saying the same thing, that Joe Biden would not be the nominee. And I called on Democrats to be honest.
Let's tell everybody
have a frank debate about who we're actually up against. The reality is, I think this late switch is better for them than had they made the switch earlier, because whoever the new nominee is, they're pointing to Kamala Harris. I have my doubts whether it'll end up being her. But whether it's Kamala or somebody else, when it's late in the cycle, the public's in a honeymoon phase with the new candidate right when November comes around, without the scrutiny phase actually beginning. And the reality is, the much more honest approach would have been for the country and certainly for the Democratic Party to be honest that Joe Biden was not fit to be the president of the United States, let alone the president of the United States over the course of the next 4 years, and have made that change before. It's also fascinating to me that when I did say that at the Republican debate, it was dismissed as a conspiracy theory. Anymore, we live in a country where when somebody's trying to silence the expression of an idea by calling it a conspiracy theory or anything else, the sad truth is often that means it's when we need to pay most attention. Here's the number one lesson coming out of this swap and this bait and switch at the end of this process. We're not actually running against a candidate here. We're running against a machine. That's a deep understanding of what's going on that requires rejecting some of the things you might otherwise think. What if Biden wasn't going to let go? This is one of the questions that people asked. What would it have taken for Biden to have actually led the country or to have endorsed Harris? That's missing the point. It's not Biden that we were up against at all. His cognitive deficits, and I would argue Kamala Harris's cognitive deficits, they're not a bug to the people who control them. Those cognitive deficits are a feature. It is a weak
Hang on 1 second. Sorry about the lag.
skill that crushes the will of the managerial class, crushing the will of everyday citizens, not just in the Republican Party, but even in the Democratic Party. And I think that actually presents an opportunity for us. It's a rare opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless to speak to those Democrats honestly and to say, you know what, Democrats, independents, people who might have voted once for Biden or for Hillary Clinton, you may not agree with everything that Donald Trump or the Republican Party says today, and that's fine. No two Americans agree on 100% of policies. That's a rarity. But you do deserve a president and a party that at least tells you the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard and when it's uncomfortable. And I think this could be an opportunity in that sense for Republicans to win over many of those Democrats who may disagree more with Republican policies, but even at their core reject being lied to. And that's exactly what's happened here. Beyond just this individual game, whether it's Joe or whether it's Kamala, we got to realize the thing that we're actually solving for is defeating that machine, the rise of that managerial class, bigger than any other individual. It embodies the philosophy of what the modern left is really about. It's not about individual agency. It's about collective will. That's what this machine really is about. The people we elect to run the government, be it Joe Biden, now they're trying for Kamala Harris or anybody else. The people we elect to run the government are effectively not the ones who actually run the government anymore. That's really what we're running against. That's what we're running to defeat. That's the system we're running to break. That's what the deep state is really about. This is about the unelected managerial, you could call them elites, you could call them bureaucrats, you could call them monarchs, who have no accountability to the people, but whose decisions are actually most impactful on how citizens live their lives.
What are you doing to me?
Now, for my part, I am personally rooting for, and I think this should be true for all Republicans, that we're rooting for the Democrats to actually put up the best possible nominee that they can. I know that might sound a little counterintuitive.
Might as well.
But I think that'll be good for the country. It'll be good for the Democratic Party. I think it'll be good for the Republican Party. And it'll be good for the United States of America. That forces us to say, you know what, whoever they put up, we're going to defeat them by offering our own vision of who we are and what we stand for. You look at the last week, this is the stuff of American history told even centuries from now. The near assassination of Donald Trump, followed by a historic Republican convention, followed by just a week later, he's back doing the exact same type of rally, sending a signal to the country that he's not going to buckle to fear. Only the next day, for the current president of the United States, since 1968, we haven't seen something like this, refused to accept the nomination of his own party, the Democrat Party's nomination. This is going to be the stuff of history that we tell our children and our great-grandchildren. But I think in that historical context, what's good for the country over the long run, we should want the Democratic Party to put up the best possible ticket they can. I'm not sure that they will or not, but that's what I'm rooting for as an American. And if we stick to our own vision of who we are and what we actually stand for, we'll run and defeat them either way. I say that as a citizen of this country who cares about the United States of America regardless of an individual party. Just as a kid in a household has to know, here's the father figure in my house. Here's the mother figure in my house. Here are the people who lead my household. You got to know as a kid, it puts you in a much stronger position if you know this is my father, this is my mother, these are the leaders of the household and the family unit. In that same way, I think citizens of a nation require some sense of who's the leader of a country. It's not something that's on the front of your mind every day, but in the back of your mind and in your heart, to know that you're grounded by a sense of conviction that somebody's actually leading the country. That matters. I think we require that. That's a hole in our heart if that's missing. I think it's the stuff of national decline if the people in a country don't have an emotional commitment to who the leader of their country actually is. Yes, Joe Biden is nominally the president of the United States of America today. But if you think about who's the leader of the country in the hearts of most people, and I think Tucker Carlson did a great job of making a similar case at the RNC in the last week, the real person who most people now think of as the leader of the country who inspires them is actually Donald Trump, a man who took the bullet, felt the blood, and stood right back up for the people of his country. And that allows us to say, you know what, this is where we're going. We don't have to be this nation led by a frail, really even mentally incapacitated US president that reflects the vacuum of the moment we're in, but that we can be a nation that's actually proud of who we are, and a nation that actually has a leader, even if it's not the current nominal president of the United States. One of the questions I've gotten in the last 24 hours certainly is, how did you predict all of this, right? I said over a year ago, Biden wasn't going to be the nominee. I said further that it was going to take place after the Republican convention. This is exactly what the Democrats, I believe, want. Have the vice president picked on the Republican ticket, have the Republicans celebrate their victory on the back of that, to be able to pull a bait and switch operation that actually takes a sprint to the finish line in November, confuse the public about what Republican policies are, and hope to win the election that way. How did I manage to not only predict that, but even darker events that have played out over the course of the last week, over the last couple of weeks? You rewind back to the late part of the campaign trail when I was headed into the Iowa caucus. One of the things I said is that this is the same party that tried to take Donald Trump off the ballot, that sued him in civil suits, that then tried to bring criminal prosecutions against him, that they were not going to let the man, one way or another, find his way to that Republican nomination. That was my concern, certainly, last December and this January. And it is shocking and it is saddening that we saw what happened Saturday before last to Donald Trump at that rally in Pennsylvania. I think it was divine intervention. It was divine providence that protected this country from that catastrophe. But it's worth asking the question, how do you actually foretell the future? I'm not some sort of, I've been wrong about many predictions I've made too, but one of the things I do want to share, because I think this is useful, is forget the idea of predicting events in the future. Forget the idea of theorizing what the public might, what the media might dismiss as conspiracy theories. Forget about all of that. And I'd encourage you to just look at what are the incentives that guide actors, right? What are the incentives that guide someone to behave the way they do, or company to behave the way it does, or a political party to behave the way it does? Add up the incentives, and that usually gives you a pretty clear picture of where someone's heading. What is their incentive? What do they solve for? What are their behaviors actually telling you that they're doing? This is a party and a movement on the Democrat side that has made it its core reason for existence to keep Donald Trump out of office. They've tried every which way to stop him within the legal system and extra legally as well. Think about the efforts to remove him from the ballot without going through even the legal system. What they've learned is that has failed time and again. In fact, every one of those have backfired to only make Donald Trump and the Republican Party more popular. So now they're going to their last ditch tactic, which is this final bait and switch operation to say that you've effectively trained Republicans to train their criticism on Joe Biden, on the Democratic ticket that's running the country today. Well, if you make a bait and switch towards the very end, whoever replaces Biden, whether it's going to be Kamala Harris or anybody else, is in some manner going to be loved by the public. It's a change. It's the same feeling that a tortured prisoner might have towards his liberator. That might be the feeling that the Democratic Party and much of this country has towards whoever replaces Biden. The later that takes place, you're going to have a period of time where the public's going to fall in love without a scrutiny phase. Their hope is November comes back around before the public even notices. And you know what? That might be the best strategy they have left. The other strategy they're pairing with that. Look at Kamala Harris's commentary over the weekend, claiming falsely that Donald Trump would sign a federal abortion ban into law, when in fact, that has been a distinctive position that Donald Trump, along with other Republicans, including myself, when I ran for president, took, that this is an issue for the states. So that appears to be the new Democrat strategy. Lie about what the GOP's position is. Don't debate them on the merits. Instead, just make the public think that the GOP's position is something other than what it is. And to hide the ball on who your actual candidate is until as late in the process as possible. Hopefully that creates one giant collective deflection that creates a last minute shift in energy and momentum. And you know what? They're rooting for the same pattern they got in 2018, 2020, and 2022, which is the illusion of a red wave that never comes. Our job is to make sure they're not right about that. History will unfold, and we're going to decide. We're going to see what actually ends up unfolding for the United States. But I'm rooting for something different here. I'm rooting for a revival of not just the Republican Party, but the revival of our national values. And that's how we get this done. It's not by focusing on the shenanigans on the other side. There's a temptation, a trap, to be pulled in and focus on what the Democrats' next move is. Who's going to be the president or the vice president, who they're going to pair. I think if it's Kamala Harris, a guy like Josh Shapiro is a likely VP. If it's not Kamala Harris, it's got to be somebody who checks those same identity politic boxes while rising above the party infighting. I don't think someone like Michelle Obama is still off the table. But the temptation is to focus our attention on that rather than what's far more important, which is answering the question of who we are, not just as Republicans, who we are as Americans and what we stand for in this monumental moment in American history. Do we believe the ideals of the American Revolution actually still exist, or don't we? It's been said that sometimes, you know what, you may not have a country where people are willing to fight for those ideals. I disagree with that. The American Revolution was fought for ideals. And the way we're going to fight for those ideals today is at the ballot box, peacefully, by reviving the ideals of 250 years ago. Channel that energy in a positive way this time to do nothing more than to vote for the person who's going to make you more proud of being a citizen of this country, to revive the ideals of free speech and open debate, to say that's how we settle our differences in a constitutional republic, not through the legal system or through force. The basic idea that the people we elect to run the government should once again be the ones who actually run the government, not the shadow government in the unelected bureaucracy, both of the deep state in Washington, D.C., and the managerial class of, say, the modern Democratic Party. The idea of merit, that the best person gets the job regardless of their race and gender. Ask yourself honestly, do you think that's why Kamala Harris got the job because of merit? Of course she didn't. It was on the basis of a modern group identity fixation that has really lost the essence of this country. Merit, free speech, self-governance, the rule of law. These are the basic ideals that bind us together across our skin-deep differences, even across our partisan differences. And this is a rare moment in American history that we have. We live in a historic time. The events that have unfolded over the last week and a half are unlike those we have seen in my lifetime. We have an opportunity in this historic moment to revive those historic ideals. And if we do, you know what? It doesn't matter which puppet the Democrats put up next. The temptations to focus on that, that's a trap. Avoid that trap and instead redirect that attention to actually define our ideals, why we believe in those ideals, and why we still are committed to them as we were in 1776. And I think if we do, 2024 will mark the year where we turn the page on a toxic chapter of our national history.
That would be so
We saw the desire for that at the Republican convention last week. It was a unique convention. It was a convention of not just unity within a party, but a hunger for national unity as well. And that's the kind of national unity I actually want, not some fake artificial astroturf kind, but the real thing.
Yes.
Grounded in a country where, yes, we will deeply have our disagreements, but nonetheless, in spite of those disagreements, we're still committed to giving every American the chance to express their views. That's part of who we are. And I think that's how we're going to save this country, not by focusing on the political horse race antics that might be the temptation in the wake of news of the kind we had yesterday. Thanks a lot, and I'll be saying much more to come.
All right. Thank you, Vivek. Awesome. Man, the guy knows how to speak. And he says the truth, and he speaks from the heart. And that's the kind of future leadership we need. I mean, he's already a leader regardless of whatever position he takes. And that'll be the next thing we talk about here before we wrap up the kickoff show, which I appreciate everybody being a part of. And then, you know, we go over to Rumble and X exclusively to read Woke Inc. by Vivek Ramaswamy. So what next? Now, I've heard that he, you know, there's been talk about him taking a JD Vance's spot as senator appointed. That would be awesome. He said he was going to talk to Trump about it and then make his own decision after he gets some advisement on that. So, you know, that could be a potentially good spot for him to season himself and to get involved with issues and to be able to speak in front of Congress, you know, get on some committees. It would be awesome. I think that anything that gets him involved in the administration and right now and gets him involved in the process right now is a good spot for him. Though I'd love to see him. I think he would still be a key advisor even if he was a senator. But it would be good for him and his political resume to have a position like that. However, administration as well, like somewhere around the administration. So do you think that Hillary may be salivating in the wings for one more chance? Yes, I think she always is. I think the thirst for power never dies. Of course, it could be that, you know, she's just figures she's too old, or it's too much energy right now, or she doesn't want to take on the fight, or she may be itching for a fight because she hasn't had one in a while. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't want to get back in Trump's crosshairs. I have no idea. And figuratively speaking, of course. And I know I said that she could be a potential, right? But would she take a back seat to Kamala when she knows that she politically should probably be in the driver's seat, at least on that side? Would Kamala take the back seat again and be her VP? Somehow they can keep that collection going. Can two women run and win in this day and age? I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. It's not there's a lot of things. I don't know. I think that she's always going to be in the background, influencing things regardless. But could she come out of retirement? Anything's possible right now. Anything's possible right now. I don't think that we could take that off the table. Again, even though Michelle Obama said she's not going to run, has no interest in it. The Obamas didn't immediately endorse Kamala. So that could be it. Vivek's kind of in the same thought that Michelle Obama could be snuck in there one way or another, or actually just replace Kamala because she checks all the boxes there. And then you can put her with a Shapiro or a Buttigieg or someone like that as a VP. So I think if either one of them, they'll probably choose a male VP. And they'll probably have something to them, right? They'll still have some kind of woke checkbox next to them for their side to salivate over. So I don't know. Yes, be prepared. Who knows what they have up their sleeves? Right? Exciting times indeed. Yeah, these are exciting times, but they're interesting times, and we keep our eyes open because every time we force them to make a move, or they're forced to make a move, they reveal information to us, right? When we pushed hard into the GOP with Ron Paul, we forced them to show some of their hand, right? We forced them to show what they would do in that case, like how they would handle the primaries against an anti-establishment candidate with a large grassroots following. And so we started understanding how they would lock the doors at the RNC, how they would, and then tell you the RNC's changed a lot. The RNC 2024 showed not only a party that's unified, but a party that had pretty much flushed out the old regime, the neocon rhino regime. Yeah, there's still some floating around. We still got work to do, and they're always going to try to get back in, so we can never take our eye off of them. But I mean, what I saw there was completely different from anything I've seen in the past. Hold on. Why is my background freezing? Am I stuttering? Okay, there we go. I'm like, my background's freezing up for some reason, and it makes me think that I'm not coming across clearly. I'm not getting any interference though. It's interesting. Interesting. What is going on, Fireflies? Let's go. All right, there we go. They're back at it. Just making sure you guys can hear me. So like I was saying, the party is not only unified. I think we finally really are to the point where we accomplished the goal that we set out to the first stage, right, was to get a candidate and run the neocons out, run the rhinos out, take the GOP, put it back to its original platform. And that way, at least the American people, at least we shattered the false left right paradigm at the executive level. And we have a real choice now. Like we grew up, all of us grew up in the illusion of choice between the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas. These people were all on the same team, and we were just given the illusion of choice. And now we see how what a show the nomination process is, at least for the Democrat side. And the right wasn't much different, right? Because the neocons just dominated everything. But we were lucky enough to be able to still to infiltrate and end that. Had we not been able to end that, we would be in a very bad place today. I can't tell you that how much that strategy was important as to where we've gotten to right now. If they had beaten Trump in 2016, they may have made changes to make their election process, their nomination process, more like the Democrats, and that would have locked the door forever. I mean, I don't know what we would have done at that point. It would have been ugly. Things would have taken a dire turn. So there's pivotal moments in history. I don't know that it will be written about in this way. Perhaps it will be. It should be. Because if we hadn't have gotten the Rhino neocons out and stopped their reign of terror on the right, we couldn't have done any of this, and their agenda would be much further down the road, and we would be in a much worse spot right now. I don't even want to even think about, and I think that we're in a good spot right now because we have control over that party, and with guys like Vivek and Vance on the rise in the future, we may be able to hang on to it for the foreseeable future. So that's what we need to do, because otherwise, when they control both parties, they control everything. Man, I got some serious lagging going on today, and I don't know where it's coming from. Hopefully, everybody can still see, and everything's coming across fine. You guys let me know in the chat how things are going. Could you imagine Obama or Bill Clinton handling the White House Christmas tree decorations like the first ladies usually do? Oh God, please no. Please no. So yeah, the future is bright for Vivek. And I'm excited to see what new opportunity he will choose to take on. But I believe that he will have his choice of maybe a couple of different things, and he'll make the right decision. He usually does. So awesome stuff, exciting times. And then we'll watch what goes on with the Democrats and this period of indifference. I mean, this period of turmoil. But here's what we got to know, right? Just like what Vivek was saying. At the end of the day, the establishment, the corrupt establishment of power, who are them and the globalists that control them, they will make the ultimate decision and decide who, what, and why. Right. So everybody in the Democrat Party thinks they have a say, and they're going to have something to do with the decision. They're like Vivek would say, they're in that trap. They've fallen into that trap. They won't, but they'll make them feel like they do, but they won't. The people have democracy. The democracy on their side is done. They have no will of the people over there. They are at the will of the establishment. They always cry about and boohoo, whine and cry, as Black conservative perspective would say. They always are doing that about democracy, right? Pointing the finger at everybody else, saying they're the threat to it. When you look at their own actions, and they reflect nothing but authoritarianism and a control structure, a managerial control structure, whatever you want to call it, where they pacify their base with lies and narrowly scoped narratives. And make them believe that they have a say, that their voice is being heard, but it's never true. And the people on that side don't pay attention enough to know that it's not true. And that's unfortunate. All right. So let me see here. Where are we at? Okay, let me refresh this. Let's see. Okay, we still got 449 over on Rumble side. The Rumble and X communities are in a vicious race, a contest to see who can get to 500 first. Currently, right now, our X subscribers are at 458. They're in the lead by almost 10 followers. And now I guess followers for Rumble, followers for X. So there you go. So it's a follower race. Follower race. And so, yeah, Rumble, catch up, man. Remember, make sure you hit that follow, and let's get that race neck and neck again. All right, let's do it. We watched the JD Vance movie Hillbilly Elegy. If you haven't seen that and you missed that, it's on Rumble. We watched the whole thing on the Old School Watch Party Sundays just yesterday. It was a great movie. I meant to say what great acting was in that movie too. I mean, it's really, the acting was really great, especially the kid who played JD. And I mean, that kid did a phenomenal job of acting. I really felt like I was watching JD, and not that I know him or anything. I thought I even knew what he was like as a kid, but that kid did such a great job. I felt everything that was going on with that kid during that movie, and I felt everything that it was very genuine, and it was a great performance. So that kid's got a bright future in acting, I believe. But it was a great movie. You really should see it. It's worth the watch. It's definitely worth the watch. Along with a lot of the documentaries we watch on Old School Watch Party Study, a lot of them, all of them. And I have a playlist for you over there as well on Rumble, so check that out. Okay. I think what we're going to do now is go ahead and wrap up the kickoff show. Did I cover everything I promised I'd cover here? Okay. Trump assassination attempt updates on the case. We're going to be covering that tomorrow on a special edition of Winning 2024. I'm just going to have a whole show about it. We'll go and we'll dig up all the recent, whether it's true or not, what people are putting out there. We'll just see where it stands right now. Maybe we'll get some new news. I was hoping we'd have more new news with this press conference today, but I mean, I didn't expect it, but I was hoping, right? You rewatched that? You loved it? Glenn, yeah, there you go. Again, thank you, Mimsy. Glenn Close. Probably the best job I've ever seen her do, like acting. Probably her best acting role ever. She was really believable as the granny. I mean, and I've heard stories about grannies. I know grannies, tough grannies, with that old school mentality, that just, rough, but know right from wrong, and knew how to raise kids, and knew how to keep them on the right track, and that would step up when their kids couldn't step up. I mean, I've heard stories from Shelley about her grandma and stuff like that. I just, I was imagining all these stellar grandmothers that have stepped up and been awesome. And I felt like Glenn Close really played that character great. She was awesome in it. Really, really, everybody in it did a great job. They really did. It's an awesome movie. Amy Adams as well. Yeah, Amy Adams did a great job as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a phenomenal movie. No wonder it's ranked, it's ranked at the top right now. It's then JD Vance, helped that, right? Him becoming VP, I'm sure it's helping revive that movie. But now people get to see how great it was. So that's awesome. All right, guys. Let's get over to get to reading. And in order to do that, we need to say goodbye to YouTube. I want to thank to everybody. Hold on a second. One more thing. All right. I want to thank everybody who came to the kickoff show here on YouTube and helps make the kickoff shows that we do over here awesome and happening. Now what we do is I've pinned the links in the chat and in the description here on YouTube to follow us over to Rumble Next for the reading of Woke Inc. by Vivek Ramaswamy. We're going to read chapters 6 and 7. Follow us over there. We're going to go ahead and end the kickoff show. Thank you again to everybody for being here. And we will see you over there. Make sure, remember, when you get there to say hello, so I know you're there. And let's do this thing. And I'll see you in a minute. Until next time, YouTube. Later.
Man, everyone's tensed up for a rumble.